And then, my other question is, there are a number of projects regarding water replacement, and I think you answered it, but I would just want to make sure. When you have water replacement, the contractor is responsible for paving over the road and putting it back together again.
Correct, and maintaining the trench for a year after the project is complete.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, John.
Gonna need a bigger boat. I had the same comment. I got a call from somebody on Brook Lake, so I just wanted to bring that up and make sure that we're on the watch. Going back to a question Dan asked in the context of the difference between road reconstruction and milling and overlay. What's the operating assumption for the additional life cycle you get out of a road from milling and overlay?
If the road if the road's subbase, it has existing curbing which holds the pavement edge. If the road is in good condition, you should be able to get the same, it's the same pavement you're putting down, essentially. So you should be able to get the same operating life out of it, which is 20 years. Our base assumption is 20 years.
So for a road, for a street that has no design needs, milling and overlay is the functional equivalent of a road reconstruction project in terms of life cycle and how you rotate it back into the system.
No question about it.
Okay, thanks.
In previous years, we were able to, when we had, sorry.
That's right.
No,
No,
that's good.
go ahead, go
Yeah,
ahead,
you know,
go ahead,
for the
Bob.
personal vision, go ahead, Don, go ahead, Don.
No, you start as your.
Okay. Previous years, we had some projects that came in under cost, and so we were able, through the county, to quickly extend the mill and overlay. We don't have a whole lot of money in this year's budget, so that's probably not realistic, but possibly in the bonded part of it, as we complete those projects, we might be able to tackle some of these mill and overlay as the season goes through.
That's possible. It's absolutely possible. I think, the pendulum swung, though. The county took a bath on prices last year, and I think this year, the prices are not the same. It's a lot more expensive to complete the mill and overlay projects this year than it was last year.
So they need,
If we're gonna take some mill and overlay off the table for a year, this is a good
This
year
is
to
the year to
do
do
it.
it.
so even though the asphalt went down, they've got to hold the price to make up for the price they charged last year. Is that?
It's unusual to expect that we might be able to bid the mill and overlay portion of a contract at lower rates than we got the county co-op numbers from, but that's what's gonna happen this year.
Okay, yeah.
If I could add to that, when the county co-op goes out once per year per product, so when they happen to go out into the market for a petroleum-based milling and overlay material, it was like when the oil had spiked to like $100 a barrel. So they set their price for the entire contract period, which would be the full calendar year, at the highest possible day you could have gone to the market. So that's what Bob's alluding to. We could get it dramatically less expensive just dealing direct with the vendor than through the county co-op. We met with them and asked them to reprice their policy as they don't reset. So we're not going to use them because it's bust-out retail. Doesn't make any sense to use the county co-op.
Good point.
Thank you.
Doc?
Yeah, the different, in the Woodland Road reconstruction, it's almost half price that we're recommending.
Yes.
Is there a difference in construction, or is it just?
No, the original proposal is for the whole length of Woodland Road, which is on paper at this stage of the game. We have it designed and surveyed, okay? But given the situation, the priority would be getting the state municipal aid money in our pockets and completing that section of the road and leaving another section of the road for another year.
So the whole section really goes from Green to?
The section from Delwood out to Green would be pushed off, and at least that's the thought process that went behind it. Yeah.
And that 536, does that include the 200,000 grant that we got, or?
536 is the amount of the project as it was estimated to the state. So the 200,000 comes off that when we get the check from the state. So it's actually 336 after the state money comes in.
You have to do the project first to get the money from the
Right,
state.
it's a reimbursement, right? We're out of pocket and then they reimburse us.
Actually, if they're good, if they're behaving, we should be able to get.
Rolling.
State? Yeah, right.
We should be able to put in for a 75% reimbursement before the job is done. And receive money before the job is done, but it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah.
Thanks.
We tried that last year, and we're still waiting.
Well, go ahead. Robert had something, but then I have a question.
I would just, assuming the council goes ahead with that ordinance, I would recommend fully funding it out of the capital improvement fund, and upon, which is the conservative way, and upon receipt of the grant, then reimburse the capital improvement fund.
Which is the way we've done it before.
Sometimes no, sometimes we recognize the grant before we receive it.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. A couple of quick questions. So if we do get, if the 536 for Woodland includes the 200,000 grant, shouldn't that 200,000 be reflected in your calculations at the last page?
I want to be conservative in approach, and I don't want to count on the cash until it's there.
It's kind of
Okay.
like we've learned on Luke Miller and
Okay.
Legacy Park and a few other things.
So-
Well, just a point,
So maybe
a
like
fair
time
point,
out calendar year.
but were it to come in, then you might be able to use it for one of those milling and overlay projects.
Oh, sure, yeah. Except you might have missed the season for doing it too.
Right.
That's-
Only other question I had is, again, concerning Woodland. You mentioned improvements to the Sampson Avenue intersection, if I heard you correctly. Other than what you've already described before, what are you talking about?
The design plan that came in with Almond Engineering had done a lot of survey work at Sampson Avenue, and what the conclusion of that was, is it would make sense at that intersection to drop the level of the Woodland Road pavement by about a foot and create a sag curve along Woodland Avenue in order to flatten out and increase sight distance as you're at the Sampson intersection. That combined with bringing the curb returns in and making it a tighter intersection for automobiles makes it safer for pedestrians. And so the combined effect is an overall improvement in safety, usability of the intersection, and that's currently what's on the drawing boards. Okay.
And that had its genesis in the Traffic Calming Committee, so.
That's going to provide sidewalk.
Well,
Downside.
it's gonna narrow
Yeah.
that huge expanse you have, and right now the stop bar is so far back, you've stopped there, and you
And
have
then
to,
you creep up.
have to creep up, right, and then you have this huge swath. So what we'll do is we'll neck that down
Mm-hmm.
and give a better chance to be able to cross from point A to point B
Right.
instead of having to race across this giant,
But it also then
Crosswalk.
allows for some space for a sidewalk.
yes.
Oh, yes.
Well, that's-
Which we had talked about taking it so that the parking would only be on one side, which the police department recommended, and then bringing another sidewalk down so you could meet the rest of the sidewalk on
That's good.
Sampson.
So then moving on to the stormwater system, which is on the next page. You see there's a number of collection system, smaller improvements, which we'll try to accomplish through operations, if at all possible. Again, stormwater projects are carried from 2008 for both the Elmer Street culvert, which is a box culvert, which collapsed a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago at this stage of the game, and is in need of repair and replacement. And the second project is Green Village Road, which is a culvert. It's actually an increase in the size of an existing culvert, which is almost 100 years old and is not providing the drainage capacity that we need on Green Village Road. And so it's a fairly extensive drainage improvement project, both of them are. And I've just recently, with the rush of applications going to the Environmental Infrastructure Trust this year, received the final plans and specifications from T&M on both of those projects. So my perspective is we're bid ready on those now. And that's taken a while, but it's good to be in that position. So again, the road projects are about to be started in construction. The drainage projects are about to be bid. And certainly by the end of the summer, all that carryover from 2008 will be complete.